Chosen one, if you can keep July 20th quiet, do it. Do not misunderstand this message. You are not being told that something dangerous is waiting outside your door. You are not being asked to hide from life, neglect your work, or cut yourself off from people who genuinely need you. The reason to spend more time at home on July 20th is much more specific. Your attention is about to become extremely valuable. A decision, realization, conversation, or opportunity is approaching, and the quality of your response may depend on the mental and emotional condition you are in when it arrives. If your mind is crowded with other people's opinions, your nervous system is overstimulated, and your energy has been scattered across unnecessary conversations, you may not recognize the importance of what is being placed in front of you. July 20th is a day to reduce interference. You have probably noticed that the last several days have felt unusually busy inside your mind. Even during quiet moments, you may have been thinking about multiple situations at once. A relationship that has not been clearly defined, a financial decision you keep postponing, a conversation you know must happen, a project that needs your full attention, a person whose behavior has forced you to question what they truly want. You may not be physically busy every minute, but mentally you have been moving without rest. That constant internal movement makes it difficult to distinguish intuition from anxiety. Anxiety speaks urgently. It tells you to do something immediately so you can escape uncertainty. Intuition is usually more precise. It may tell you something uncomfortable, but it does not need to create panic to get your attention. On July 20th, your task is to create enough quiet to hear the difference. That is why staying home can help. At home, you have more control over the people, conversations, sounds, information, and emotional demands entering your space. You can put your phone down. You can delay a response. You can think before agreeing to something. You can notice how your body reacts when a certain name appears on the screen. You can examine an opportunity without someone standing beside you, pressuring you to make a decision. The outside world is not the enemy. Unfiltered access is the problem. Many chosen ones have become too available. People can reach you whenever they want. Their stress becomes your stress. Their crisis changes your plans. Their opinion enters your mind before you have formed your own. They send a message, and within seconds, your entire emotional condition changes. July 20th is about interrupting that pattern. Something important is developing, and God is asking you to become more selective about what receives your energy before it becomes visible. You need to understand why this matters. Every interaction leaves a psychological and emotional effect. A conversation filled with gossip can remain in your mind for hours. A person who constantly complains can make your own future appear heavier. A friend who questions every decision can cause you to doubt something that previously felt clear. A message from someone inconsistent can reactivate emotions you spent weeks calming. None of these interactions must be dramatic to affect you. A 5-minute conversation can change the direction of your entire day if it touches an unresolved wound. This is especially important on July 20th because many chosen ones will be more emotionally receptive than usual. You may notice changes in tone more quickly. You may feel tension in a room before anyone says what is wrong. You may become tired after speaking with someone who normally does not affect you so strongly. This does not mean you are reading supernatural information from every person around you. It means your nervous system may be more sensitive because you have already been carrying too much. When the mind is overloaded, additional stimulation becomes harder to process. A crowded place, several conversations, loud music, constant notifications, and emotional demands may leave you unable to think clearly by the end of the day. Then, when an important message arrives, you may respond from exhaustion rather than wisdom. God may be preparing to show you something big, but you still need enough emotional space to see it accurately. The first reason to remain at home is to avoid making decisions under social pressure. Other people often influence your choices without openly telling you what to do. Their facial expression, disappointment, enthusiasm, fear, or silence can change your response. You may agree because you do not want to seem difficult. You may say no because someone else is afraid. You may lower your expectations because the people around you cannot imagine the future you are trying to create. When you are alone, these influences become easier to notice. Ask yourself what you would choose if nobody were watching. Would you still accept the offer? Would you still contact that person? Would you still attend the meeting? Would you still remain in the relationship? Would you still abandon the idea? You may discover that some of your indecision has not come from a lack of clarity. It has come from trying to create a decision that keeps everyone comfortable. God cannot lead you clearly while you are attempting to follow 5 different expectations at the same time. The second reason to stay home is that an old pattern may try to re-enter your life on July 20th. This may happen through a person. Someone who has been distant may suddenly become curious about you. A person who gave you inconsistent attention may send a casual message. Someone may react to something you posted, mention an old memory, or create a small excuse to begin a conversation. Do not automatically interpret contact as change. People often reach out when they feel distance growing. They sense that your attention is no longer waiting for them, and they test whether the old access still exists. This does not necessarily mean they are intentionally manipulating you. Sometimes they are lonely. Sometimes they miss the comfort you provided. Sometimes your silence forces them to confront the possibility that you are genuinely moving forward. The reason behind the contact matters. If they reach out, you do not need to ignore them as a performance of strength. You also do not need to respond immediately. Give yourself enough time to recognize what the message actually contains. Does it contain accountability? Does it contain a clear intention? Does the person acknowledge what happened? Are they prepared to have an honest conversation? Or are they simply checking whether you are still emotionally available? Staying home gives you the space to respond from observation rather than adrenaline. When you see a familiar name, your body may react before your mind. Your heart rate may change. Your stomach may tighten. Old hope may return within seconds. If you answer during that first emotional wave, you may say more than you intended or reopen a connection before understanding why it returned. Read the message. Put the phone down. Walk to another room. Drink water. Let the first reaction pass. Then decide whether the message deserves a response and what kind of response reflects the person you are now. This is energy protection in practical form. Energy protection is not imagining invisible walls around yourself while continuing to participate in the same destructive patterns. It is controlling access. It is choosing when to answer. It is refusing to let another person's urgency become your emergency. The third reason to stay home is to avoid unnecessary conflict. July 20th may expose tension that has been building beneath polite conversations. People who have been suppressing frustration may speak impulsively. Misunderstandings can become larger when everyone is tired, distracted, or emotionally charged. You do not need to be present for every disagreement. You do not need to defend yourself against every opinion. You do not need to correct every false assumption immediately. Sometimes the strongest action is postponing a conversation until both people can speak clearly. If someone tries to pull you into an argument on July 20th, ask whether the issue truly needs to be solved at that exact moment. If the answer is no, say that you are willing to discuss it later. Do not continue the conversation simply because walking away feels uncomfortable. Many chosen ones were trained to resolve tension immediately. You learned to explain yourself quickly, apologize quickly, or surrender your position before another person became angry. This pattern may have developed in an environment where conflict felt unsafe. But fast resolution is not always real resolution. Sometimes you are only removing another person's discomfort while creating more discomfort inside yourself. July 20th gives you an opportunity to change that. You can say, I need time to think before I answer. You can say, I do not want to discuss this while we are both frustrated. You can say, I understand what you are asking, but I am not ready to agree. These sentences may appear simple, but they represent a major change for someone who has spent years responding under pressure. The fourth reason to stay home is to protect your mind from comparison. Social media can become particularly disruptive when you are close to an important personal shift. You see another person's success and begin questioning your timing. You see a relationship announcement and suddenly feel behind. You see someone traveling, earning money, changing their appearance, or celebrating an achievement, and the direction you felt confident about begins looking too slow. Comparison changes your emotional relationship with your own path. You stop asking whether your next step is right for you and start asking whether it looks impressive compared with someone else's result. On July 20th, reduce the amount of time you spend watching other people live. You do not need to delete every platform or disappear completely. Give yourself specific periods without input. Turn off notifications for several hours. Avoid checking the pages that trigger comparison, jealousy, resentment, or obsessive curiosity. The purpose is not to prove that you are spiritually stronger than social media. The purpose is to observe what your mind begins producing when it is no longer constantly reacting to external images. You may remember an idea you wanted to develop. You may feel motivated to finish a task. You may realize that the life you were comparing yourself with is not a life you actually want. A quieter mind can separate genuine desire from borrowed desire. This is important because God may be about to redirect you. The new direction may not look like what everyone around you is doing. If your mind is filled with conventional expectations, you may reject an opportunity because it appears too small, too unusual, or too different from the plan you imagine. Something big does not always begin in a visibly impressive form. A major career change may begin with a private conversation. A financial breakthrough may begin with recognizing where money is being wasted. A new relationship may begin with learning to tolerate calm instead of chasing intensity. A creative opportunity may begin with finally finishing one piece of work. A personal transformation may begin with saying no to one invitation. The event looks small, the consequence is large. This is the kind of movement July 20th may create. The fifth reason to stay home is to review what has been draining your energy without producing a meaningful result. Choose one area of your home where you can sit comfortably. Bring paper or open a blank document. Write down the situations that have occupied most of your thoughts during the last 2 weeks. Do not write vague categories. Be specific. The unanswered message from a certain person. the project you keep avoiding, the payment you are waiting for, the family issue that keeps returning, the decision about whether to continue or leave. Then write what you have actually done about each situation. This matters because overthinking can create the illusion of action. You may spend 5 hours mentally discussing a problem without taking one practical step. Ask whether the situation requires action, patience, communication, or release. If action is required, identify the smallest useful action. If patience is required, stop checking for updates every hour. If communication is required, decide what question must be asked. If release is required, recognize which habit keeps reconnecting you to the situation. God may use July 20th to show you that your breakthrough has been delayed not because nothing is available, but because your attention has been divided among too many unfinished emotional loops. Closing one loop creates energy. Sending the email, making the appointment, canceling the subscription, deleting the draft you will never send, organizing the documents, asking the direct question. These are not dramatic spiritual rituals. They are practical forms of alignment. When your actions agree with what you claim to want, your life begins moving differently. The sixth reason to stay home is to notice the physical condition of your energy. Your body gives information that your thoughts often hide. Imagine someone asks you to attend a gathering. Your mind says you should go because you do not want to disappoint them. But the moment you imagine entering the room, your shoulders tighten and your energy drops. This does not automatically mean the gathering is dangerous or the people are bad. You may simply be tired. You may need rest. You may know that the environment requires a version of you that you no longer want to perform. The distinction matters. Use July 20th to observe which activities create healthy energy and which activities only create stimulation. Healthy energy often feels steady. You can focus. Your breathing remains natural. You feel present. Stimulation can feel exciting at first but leave you scattered afterward. You talk too much. You reveal information you intended to protect. You agree to plans without considering whether you have the capacity. You return home unable to settle your mind. Chosen ones frequently mistake stimulation for alignment because both can feel powerful. The difference becomes obvious afterward. Alignment leaves you clearer. Overstimulation leaves you confused. This is another reason for spending the day in a controlled environment. You need to understand your real condition before placing yourself inside more demands. If you are tired, rest before making decisions. If you are hungry, eat before responding emotionally. If you are overwhelmed, reduce input before interpreting every feeling as a sign. Spiritual discernment becomes unreliable when basic physical needs are ignored. Protecting your energy means caring for the body through which you experience that energy. Eat properly. Drink enough water. Open the windows. Take a shower. Move your body, change the sheets. Let natural light enter the room. These actions appear ordinary because they are ordinary. That is why they work. They bring you back into the present, where real decisions are made. The seventh reason to stay home involves private preparation. Something may be closer than you think, but it may require you to become organized before it arrives. If you have been asking for a career opportunity, are your files ready? Is your portfolio updated? Do you know what you would say if the right person called? If you have been asking for financial improvement, do you understand your current numbers? Do you know what you need each month? Have you identified which expenses are useful and which ones are emotional reactions? If you have been asking for a healthy relationship, are you prepared to communicate clearly? Or will you hide your needs because you are afraid of losing the person? If you have been asking for visibility, have you created anything ready to be seen? People often ask God to open a door while remaining unprepared to walk through it. July 20th may be a preparation day. Do not waste it waiting for something dramatic. Use several quiet hours to strengthen the foundation. Finish what is almost complete. Review the plan. Clean the workspace. Write down the questions you must ask. Decide which terms you will and will not accept. Preparation reduces the chance that excitement will control your choices when an opportunity appears. You can receive good news and still make a bad decision if you are not grounded. An offer can be promising but unclear. A person can be sincere but emotionally unprepared. An opportunity can be real but poorly timed. Discernment does not reject blessings. It helps you handle them correctly. God may be doing something big by teaching you to stop responding to everything as though it is your final chance. When you believe an opportunity is your only chance, you ignore weak terms. When you believe a person is your only chance at love, you ignore inconsistency. When you believe one path is your only route to success, every delay feels catastrophic. A quiet July 20th can remind you that your future is larger than one person, one message, one opportunity, or one decision. This perspective gives you negotiating power. It allows you to ask questions. It allows you to leave when something is not right. It allows you to wait for complete information. That is why your energy needs to be protected. Your energy is not only your mood. It is your ability to think, choose, focus, create, communicate, and recognize patterns. When this capacity is drained, you become easier to pressure and easier to confuse. People often say, protect your energy, without explaining what that means. On July 20th, it means limiting contact with people who repeatedly use you as an emotional dumping ground. If every conversation with someone consists of their problems, their anger, their gossip, and their crisis, do not give them unlimited access. You can care about a person without allowing them to empty their mental burden into you at any hour. Say that you cannot talk right now. Ask whether the issue is urgent. Set a time limit. Do not remain on the phone for an hour simply because ending the conversation feels impolite. Energy protection also means avoiding conversations about people who are not present. Gossip creates mental involvement in situations that do not belong to you. You leave the conversation carrying images, judgments, and emotions that have no useful purpose in your life. Someone may try to tell you what another person said about you. Before listening, ask whether the information will help you make a necessary decision. If it will only make you angry, suspicious, or distracted, you may not need it. Knowing everything is not the same as being protected. Sometimes protection is refusing information that cannot be used constructively. Energy protection means not explaining a new plan to people who automatically search for reasons it will fail. Some people are not intentionally negative. Their mind is structured around risk. They believe they are helping when they list every possible problem. Risk assessment is useful when it is balanced with possibility. But if you share a fragile new idea with someone who only speaks from fear, you may abandon it before testing whether it could work. Use July 20th to develop the idea privately. Research the practical obstacles yourself. Separate real risk from another person's anxiety. Then speak when your plan is strong enough to survive opinions. Energy protection means not checking whether someone is thinking about you. Do not post something indirectly to attract their attention. Do not monitor whether they watched. Do not use silence as a strategy to make them chase you. These behaviors keep your attention attached to the person even when you are not speaking. Real detachment is not pretending not to care while secretly tracking every movement. It is returning your attention to the life in front of you. If the person wants to communicate, they can communicate clearly. You do not need to create clues for them. July 20th may show you how much of your energy has been spent participating in conversations that exist only inside your imagination. You imagine what you would say if they returned. You imagine what they are feeling. You imagine why they disappeared. You imagine the future conversation that will finally explain everything. Your mind experiences these imagined interactions as emotional events. Your body reacts. Your mood changes. Your day becomes organized around something that did not actually happen. Stay home, but do not spend the day living inside fantasy. Use your home as a place to return to reality. What has this person actually done? What has the opportunity actually offered? What facts do you know? What decision is available today? Reality may feel less exciting than imagination, but reality is where peace becomes possible. The big thing God may do on July 20th is remove the emotional attraction to uncertainty. You may suddenly see that uncertainty has been keeping you interested. Every small sign created hope. Every period of silence created anxiety. Every return created relief. The cycle became emotionally intense enough to feel meaningful. But intensity and importance are not the same. A healthy opportunity may not create panic. A healthy person may not make you question where you stand every week. A healthy direction may feel quieter because you are not fighting to hold it. Do not reject peace because your nervous system has become used to confusion. Use July 20th to allow calm to become familiar. There may be moments when you feel bored. Do not immediately escape into your phone. Boredom can be the space between the old stimulation and the new focus. Stay there long enough for your mind to produce something of its own. An idea, a memory, a solution, a question. The first several minutes of silence may contain only mental noise. That is normal. Your mind has been receiving input continuously. It needs time to settle. You do not need to force a divine message. If God is about to show you something, you will not make it clearer by creating dramatic expectations. Observe what repeatedly returns. A particular task. A person you need to speak with honestly. A plan you keep postponing. A truth you keep avoiding. The message may be found in the thing your mind returns to after every distraction is removed. There is also a practical reason to avoid crowded environments on July 20th if you are already emotionally tired. Crowds require constant processing. Faces, voices, movement, sounds, social expectations, and rapid decisions compete for attention. This can increase mental fatigue, especially when you are already trying to resolve an important internal issue. You may return home feeling too drained to think about what actually matters. Choose activities according to your condition. If a quiet walk helps you think, take one. If visiting a calm place with someone trustworthy supports you, that may be useful. The message is not that crossing the front door is spiritually forbidden. The message is to avoid environments that scatter you when you need concentration. Do not turn the instruction into superstition. Nothing powerful is built through unnecessary fear. God does not need you terrified of ordinary life in order to guide you. The value of July 20th comes from deliberate attention. You are deciding that for one day, not every person and every problem will have equal access to you. You are creating a private meeting with your own life. During this meeting, review 3 subjects. First, identify what must end. This could be a habit, a repeated conversation, a financial leak, a relationship dynamic, or a commitment that no longer reflects your direction. Do not write what you wish would change. Write what you are personally prepared to change. Second, identify what needs protection: your sleep, your money, your working hours, your new plan, your emotional recovery, a relationship that is healthy but requires more care. Protection is not only about removing negative things, it is also about giving consistent attention to what is valuable. Third, identify what needs immediate movement. Choose something you can begin within 24 hours. An email, a phone call, a document, a schedule, a boundary, a purchase you need to cancel, a conversation you need to prepare for. Do not choose something so large that you return to paralysis. God may reveal direction, but direction becomes useful only when it enters behavior. By the evening of July 20th, you may notice that one issue feels different. The facts may be the same, but your position has changed. You are no longer asking how to convince someone. You are asking whether they have demonstrated enough to remain in your life. You are no longer asking whether you are good enough for the opportunity. You are asking whether the opportunity respects your value and supports your future. You are no longer asking when life will change. You are asking which action represents the person you want to become. This shift in questions is the beginning of the big thing. Your life often changes after your questions change. When you ask, "How do I stop them from leaving?" you search for ways to abandon yourself. When you ask, "Does this relationship provide mutual safety and effort?" you examine evidence. When you ask, "Why am I behind?" you compare. When you ask, "What can I build from where I am?" you create. God may not change every circumstance on July 20th. He may change the question controlling your circumstances. That can be enough to redirect the next year of your life. Before sleeping, write down what became clearer. Do not search only for a supernatural event. Perhaps you recognize that a person is not ready. Perhaps you understood which project deserves your attention. Perhaps you saw that exhaustion has been affecting your decisions. Perhaps you finally admitted what you want. Perhaps you discovered that the message you were waiting for is no longer necessary. These are significant results. Clarity saves time. It protects money. It prevents repeated heartbreak. It stops you from investing months in an arrangement that cannot produce what you need. This is why protecting your energy on July 20th matters. Your future may be influenced by what you finally see when nobody else is speaking over your perception. Stay home if your schedule allows it. Make the environment quiet. Do not open your attention to every message. Avoid gossip, emotional confrontation, impulsive contact, comparison, and people who pressure you to decide quickly. Eat well. Rest. Organize something practical. Review the facts. Write down the decision you would make if fear and social approval were removed from the process. Then take one action. God may be about to do something big, but that does not mean you will remain passive while everything happens around you. The biggest movement may begin through the decision you make in private. A decision nobody applauds yet, a boundary nobody understands yet, a plan nobody sees yet, a conversation you prepare carefully instead of beginning impulsively, a door you stop knocking on, a door you finally become ready to open. July 20th is not powerful because you remain physically inside a building. It becomes powerful when you stop allowing the world to interrupt the conversation you need to have with your own truth. Protect the hours. Protect the decision. Protect the beginning before it becomes visible. You do not need to announce that you are changing. Let your choices demonstrate it. You do not need to tell the person you are moving on. Stop organizing your life around their attention. You do not need to convince anyone that your idea will work. Build the first part. You do not need to prove that God is preparing something. Become prepared enough to respond when it appears. The day may end quietly. Do not assume nothing happened. A quiet day can contain the decision that changes everything afterward. Write "I will" in the comments if you are choosing clarity over noise on July 20th. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next message will explain how to recognize the first real confirmation after this quiet preparation period. God is about to do something big. Your responsibility is not to force it. Your responsibility is to become clear, grounded, and available enough to recognize what begins.